everyone, it's a beautiful day out here today and I am thinking of making a video. So I've been getting so many questions and I think this one is the most important one, especially considering that in September a lot of you are going to come here as a student or on PR. Congratulations if you are one of those, and if you're already waiting for your student visa or something, then well, I hope you get it. So today we are going to talk about accommodations, finding the right accommodation for you and how to go about it, what are things to consider, and how to exactly do this entire process of how to find accommodation in Canada. So stay tuned. Alright, so I have found this really nice spot over here. This is just like right around in my neighborhood where I live. Now this is my very first time shooting in public, so you will see me a lot more distracted because when people are passing by I get really nervous. But let's see how it goes, and let me know if you would like me to shoot in such locations or would you like me to shoot off my home. So when you're choosing accommodation in Canada, what are things you should consider? The very first thing that you should consider when you're choosing accommodation is, of course, your budget. The budget is very subjective, and of course, you would know your budget. But if I were to talk about big cities in Canada, like for example Toronto, Vancouver, the student accommodations would start anywhere from 600 to as high as it could go up to 2,000, 2,500. So it really depends on you what kind of accommodation you want to look for. On campus is definitely one of the types of accommodation that you can look for, and those get pretty full pretty quickly, and there are more on-campus accommodations for undergraduate students than for graduate students, so that is also one of the things to consider. So if you are in undergrad and if in the first year if you want to live on campus, it's pretty guaranteed, and you can always talk with your college supervisor or your college advisor or university advisor. Alright, so in my university years I have had a lot of bad experiences with different types of roommates and with the locality and everything. So I'm going to share all of those experiences and kind of draw my own recommendations in terms of how to look for accommodation. So when it comes to finding accommodation, the second thing that you should look for is the locality or the safety of that place. Locality and safety are two different things which I always used to mix up when I was back in university, but now I totally understand what I mean. So for example, locality is more like where you want to live. Do you want to live closer to the university, where usually the accommodations are a little more expensive than the farther you move away from the university? Again, right, like for example, I went to UBC, and then in UBC the closest proximities are Dunbar area or Kitsilano area or West Side, but then now those accommodations or the accommodations in those areas are really very expensive. Whereas if you were to move a little bit towards east side, where actually now even after COVID the accommodation prices have gone up because of the inflation rate, I would say the comparable prices are a little less than what you would find in those high posh areas. Similarly, if you want to live in downtown, which is not very close to UBC, but I'm just talking in general, let's say in general if you are going to Montreal, or if you're going to Calgary or Toronto or any other place where there is a downtown area, then usually downtown areas are very vibrant. So usually there are a lot of restaurants there, it's very close to the public transit, so usually those areas are a little bit more expensive than the suburbs. Now comes the safety part as well. I usually used to overlook this, but then I have gone through so much because of it, and you can always read my roommate saga on Instagram, where I have shared all my experiences, but usually what would happen is people would overlook the safety though. So you can look at the overall safety of the city or the proximity where you're living, but sometimes it also depends on the area. So for example, in downtown in Vancouver there is a area called Hastings Street where there are a lot of people who who are not dangerous, but you would naturally not feel safe to live in those areas in the beginning part of your stay, because of course you're not familiar with what all things would come along. The second and the most important thing, which is again kind of related to proximity, is the number of buses or the number of trains that you would need to take to commute to your college or to your workplace. Now this is also very important, and also the proximity to the nearest SkyTrain or the nearest bus station. Usually in summer it's okay to walk and to kind of commute to the train station. However, in winters you will see when you're working very late hours, or when you're returning 10 p.m. from your work and it's really difficult for you to walk 7 minutes from the bus stop to your home. So even those 7 minutes are really, it seems farther because number one, you're tired, and number two, it's very cold. So sometimes like also those things needs to be considered. Usually I would say a safe is like anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes walk is okay. All right, so now when you are a student, usually most of the colleges or universities would include your bus pass for free. Now in Vancouver, the bus system and the train system is pretty sorted. So as a student, you would usually get a compass card, which like you can use every month to travel. But not all colleges or universities, I know that they would pay, but like I'm not sure about all the colleges. So if you are getting admission in the college, then do check with your college whether they give you bus card or whether they give you bus pass and the train pass or not. And if you are suppose traveling here with your children, then also something to consider is their schooling, or how far is their school from the home where you would be living. In Canada, there is a recommendation that you need to place your child closer to your home. So the schools, not all public schools are great, or like sometimes it again depends on the area. So you need to also consider that factor. Now, if you are coming here as a student just alone like me, then one very important thing that I would strongly recommend is to look for accessible like grocery stores near your home, or like some big superstore or Safeway or Walmart, how far it is from your home, because traveling to those places on weekend and carrying so much food is a big task in Canada. I totally recommend getting something like this to kind of alleviate that stress of carrying so much food. So find something where you can either easily commute to those grocery stores, or that you live very close to the bus station or the SkyTrain station, so that you don't have to walk with that much of groceries in cold. The next one is, as a tenant, there are so many rights that you have, so please know your rights. I am going to link few of the tenancy websites below, and what rights do you have in living in provinces. So make sure that you read through it and know your rights. Do not get into it without an agreement. And of course, like if you're, let's say, signing a lease deed for 1 year, then ensure that you know your rights and how you can kind of prevent any mishaps from happening. I'm not saying that Canada is bad, but what I am saying is that there are people who would try to take advantage of you because you are coming in as an international person. You have very few resources, you don't know your rights, so please know your rights. The links are in the description box. This is a list that I made personally for myself. Whenever I would go in a home, I would like check, okay, this is there, this is there, this is there. And it's very important, especially when you're living in a shared home, it is very important to know like where you will be storing your shoes, or which part of the fridge will be yours, or like are you going to share a bathroom with other people? Do you have a wardrobe in your room, or like what is the status? So know all these little things. And one of the biggest thing that I have found is whether basement or non-basement, right? Not having the sunlight can affect your mental health. So ensure that you understand, if you are going in basement rentals, then understand that how it is going to affect you. Usually in Canada, the sun comes up at 8 a.m. or around 8 a.m. and then it would go down around 4 p.m. or maybe 4:30 p.m. So now like with such a less amount of sunlight, when you don't have it coming in your home, sometimes it also affects a lot of people. But again, right, like for others, it does not affect at all. So know your limits, know what you can and cannot do, and then find your rentals accordingly. And last but not the least, and this is a personal advice from me because I've seen so many people making this mistake, even if you have viewing from let's say online, or if they are showing you the place on FaceTime, please do not get into the deed. Come here, see it in person, and then only make a lease, or then only give your security deposit. This is especially because what you see in the video might be very different, like the perspective of the space and the area and everything is not that great when you see it in the video. So make sure that you see it in person before you give any security deposit or any money to anybody. So when I came to Canada, of course, you will have this question of how do you go with finding initial accommodation, right? Because of course, if you're not supposed to pay online to anyone, or if you're not supposed to view anything online, then how are you going to really take a look at the place, and then how are you going to decide on where to live? So initially, when you are coming to Canada, let's say for first week or so, book any hostels or book Airbnb or book any other short-term accommodations that are available. I will be again putting few links rankings of the high hostels and the other safe hostels that are out there, and then live there, go arrange viewings, just keep viewing different places, and then once it fits with your overall needs and criteria, then and then only give money. I hope that you find this video helpful. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section below. Do let me know, should I do this out in the public or should I just do it at home? I love both ways, but it really depends on you. Until then, please be happy, and I really hope that your onward journey of coming to Canada is successful. Bye. Please do subscribe.